Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And again, this is the hardest working committee because we love what we do and we care deeply, as you do, about the future of this country. I wanted to touch on a couple of points. One, as the mother of 3 children, one who's doing astrophysics and someone who grew up going to the Museum of Science and Industry, as many of us here were inspired to do. I think that is a sign, though, of the importance of inspiring children. So with all due respect, it's not just keeping them in school at the university level, but having them even aspire to that. So I wanted to explore both the question about women and minorities and inclusiveness, which I think has got to start in much younger grades. It's too late if you wait to university. So that was one, and how we retain teachers, something that we haven't talked about. But again, I just know from my own experience seeing in public schools how incredibly difficult it is to maintain really good math and science teachers because they are lured elsewhere with a lot greater pay, and the best ones are in incredibly high demand. And if you don't have an excellent teacher, it's going to be very hard to inspire students. So if you could all weigh in on that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. These questions all begin and end with our children and whether or not, indeed, they are inspired and motivated to participate in these fields and whether or not they feel they are included and that science and technology are for them. That formation and their development starts really early. And although testing is not the be-all and end-all, it is very reflective of this issue, that in the U.S., if they are not doing well by the end of middle grades, they are not going to continue on in STEM. So the first strategy is to broaden the pool of potential innovators and scientists to ensure that we are broadly inclusive, that we are reaching them where we are with concrete strategies. And I appreciate everybody's reflections on their good feelings for the Museum of Science and Industry and the science centers in their community, whether it's St. Louis or San Francisco. But honestly, we go so far beyond inspiration now. We are targeted to ensure that the youth we encounter can achieve in the middle grades and achieve in high school. And if they do not meet those steps, they will not achieve in college. What we know, what the research is quite clear about, is that college access, getting them to that point, getting them to college, is the critical barrier. If we can broaden and diversify the pool of potential scientists and innovators with our underrepresented communities, including more women and minorities, we know that if we can get them into college, they are as likely and in fact more likely to pursue STEM careers and to stay in those STEM careers. So for teachers, we have to position them for success. High school is a little bit different. You have to have a science background to teach in high school. You do not in the middle grade. So reflect on what I said at the beginning. If we do not get them out of the middle grade successful, they will not continue. Yet who do we have teaching in the middle grades? Yes, we have some exceptional teachers, but we also have upwards of 50% of our middle grade science teachers lack a background in science. We will not be successful in getting them to graduate from college with or without scholarships until we address these fundamental problems earlier in their educational careers.
And I would concur. I think the thing, particularly with girls, and really for all young people, is decisions are made at a very early age, in second and third grade, whether they're good at math and science, and what they're going to pursue as they continue in education. So I guess what we have to do is inspire them before we expose them to low expectations and really move them through this in a powerful way. Also, from a teacher perspective, what we're finding, more and more states are opening their teacher licensure program to bring in more people into the field of teaching, to allow engineers and others to be trained to teach students. And more people are interested in giving back and doing meaningful work with our schools. One of the things we find in our teacher training program is it's also very inspiring for teachers, to go through a pre-assessment and then spend 2 weeks of intense training on one of our university campuses, and then the ongoing professional development. Many will say it's transformational for their careers and really engages them in a deep way, in a very different way.
We all recognize that we face a shortage of workers trained in the STEM fields, but I'd like you to comment a little bit on the importance of STEM training for those who don't enter the science fields. And if you can talk about what that important, the analytical skills, the science background, risk assessment, all these other skills that those who may, for example, become members of Congress, and how we should be thinking about that, and the greater value to having this grounding from elementary on up.
Thank you. I mean, look, fundamentally, science is about figuring out the world all around you. And if people don't have the basic strategies that they need to understand what's happening in their environments and to make choices for their health and well-being in their environment, we're not going to have a population that is advocating for the right things, advocating for the right policies, and making the right choices in their personal lives. Having a basic scientific literate community is also really critical to the other question that was raised about family engagement. We all have to understand the role that science plays in our lives, the role that engineering plays in our lives, and figuring out how to make sense of this world and how to solve the problems that exist. So it is very basic that if a child does not have a family that understands the fundamental importance of having math and science in their curriculum, that is going to be more difficult for that child to achieve.
When I think of high school engineering, we are not training engineers. We're training critical thinkers, problem solvers. Students understand how to collaborate, work in a team environment. We're teaching computational thinking, these critical skills that are transferable really to any career. And I think to Ms. Ingram's point, is helping students understand how the world operates and the world in which they exist, in which they have to compete. You know, for instance, I was with an art director on an airplane, and she asked what I do, and I told her. She said, "Oh, you're one of those." And as we got into a discussion, and soon after we reached 10,000 feet, she pulled out this huge Mac and started doing this amazing work. I'm like, just out of curiosity, who do you think developed that? You know, and how does that work? You know, so it provides tools. Musical instruments are engineered to produce sound. You know, our students need to understand that and understand how their world operates, and I think it makes for a much better society overall. But we have a number of students that will go in different career paths, but we believe that those students will be in a much better position to contribute to our country.
I just amplify some of the comments that have already been made. Science, technology, engineering, math all provide the foundation of critical thinking. It provides you a structure by which you solve problems. That's a transferable skill, and we see that when engineers go off into other professions. It's very rare that you have someone that comes from a different major and comes into engineering and technology. That seems to be a one-way path for people in terms of their careers. So I think that highlights why those skills are so valuable on a broad scale basis. Second point I'd make is one that we live in a technological world. Whether we like that or not, the idea of an agrarian-based society is gone, and we are all surrounded by technologies. And unless there's a clear understanding of how those technologies work and how they are beneficial or how they can actually be dangerous, I think we have a real risk of having a competitiveness problem worldwide.
I would like to quote a 15-year-old, if I may. Jack Andraka mentioned after he won the ISEF last year that within 3 seconds, he can find the answer to just about any common piece of knowledge on the internet. What's important is, what does he do with that answer? What are the critical thinking skills? What questions is he asking? What problems am I trying to solve? And he was urging the audience at that time to move away from memorization and get to exactly what we've all been talking about, the actual application in real-world situations to solve problems. And that's how we inspire young people to stay with STEM.
Thank you very much.